appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Does anybody else need a study guide before I get started? Alright. Find a rock. Find a rock. Here's our, what type of function is this, guys? Quadratic. Now, how am I going to set that up? I want to know what's the rate of change between x equals 2 and x equals 6. So, I'm going to do a rock equals, what goes first in the denominator? 2 or 6? 6 minus 2. Above it, put f of 6 minus f of 2. If I plug 6 in, 6 squared is 36. 36 plus 18, 54. Minus, I plug 2 in, 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. That gives me 44 over 4, which equals 11. Yeah, I gotta turn that music off. I'm not going to be able to concentrate. Yes. Alright, we want to graph this using transformations. This is just something else for you to study if you need other problems. I will graph, what's my parent function here? Square root, so square root of 0 is 0, square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2. That's my parent graph. What does this minus 2 under that tell me to do? Move it right 2 and then what? 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3. And there's my graph. Thank you. You just made my morning because I had a rough 0 period. No, it was just they were having a moment. Number 3, not this class. Nobody here. This is one of my all-time favorite class, Miss Wagner. Right here, this first period, yes. Of my 13 years teaching, yes. What now? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Now, these, okay, number 3 and 4 was not in your original study guide. I'm glad I looked at the final. So, let's go over this nonlinear inequalities. These are easy. But remember, when you're doing these nonlinear inequalities, you need to find the roots. So I'm going to factor this. This will be x minus 3. So your zeros are x equals 0 and x equals 3. And remember, we drew our little graph. Now, this is x squared. And the leading coefficient is what? Positive, isn't it? So both my ends will be sticking straight what? Up. Where's the graph of greater than or equal to 0 at? What's your interval notation? It's in this area right here and this area right here, isn't it? Because if it's below the graph, it's less than 0. You remember this? So it will be from negative infinity to 0, bracket, union, 3 to infinity. Alright, number 4. What can I take out to begin with? X. That leaves x squared plus 2x minus 15. Now I'm going to break that down. to x plus 5 and x minus 3. So my zeros are x equals 0, x equals negative 5, and x equals 3. The degree is what in this, guys? 3. So your ends will be pointing in different directions. The leading coefficient is what? Positive. So remember, it goes like this. Now remember, it doesn't say less than or equal to 0. So these three numbers make it 0, but it doesn't say less than or equal to 0. So what will go around those numbers? Parentheses. Do y'all remember that? Okay, so it's less than 0. So I'm talking about this area right here and this area right here, aren't I? So I'm going to write that in interval notation. So that's going to be negative infinity to negative 5 union 0 to 3. And that would be my answer.
So what would be a situation where there's a bump break?
If I had x plus 5, like x plus 5 times x plus 5 right here, I'll rewrite it like x plus 5 squared. And that would be a bump.
So it's a bump if it's an even number?
It's a break if it's odd. Yes.
So on these, the first step is going to be to try to factor.
You're going to do your zeros, find your zeros, yeah. You got one like that on your final tomorrow. Number 4, number 5, you got one like this on your final. Find all zeros by factoring. First of all, how could I start by factoring that? Difference of, so I got x squared plus 5, x squared minus 5 equals 0. Okay, I'm going to set each parentheses equal to 0. Now I told you when it was in those format of that quadratic right there, x squared plus, couldn't I just do the easy, like move that over quickly? Yes, I told you could do this. X squared equals negative 5. I take the square root. How will I handle that negative under the square root? I plus or minus I square root of 5. Remember, when you take the square root of something, you got to do the plus or minus. So you got x equals plus or minus I square root of 5. Here I got x squared equals 5. I take the square root. When you take the square root, plus or minus square root of 5. So how many answers do I have here? How many zeros do I have? 4. And how many could I have up to? That's correct, okay? You got one like that tomorrow, okay? If you finish number 5, go on number 6. We did one like 6 the other day. You can just keep practicing that one. Do number 6 now.
So how would that answer be set up on the multiple choice?
Like that. Ivy, we're good? Alright, number 6 is graph the polynomial. We're going to sketch the graph. What's my zeros? Negative 2. And at 4 we have a what? Bump. Multiplicity of 2. Very good. So what's my degree in this particular polynomial? 3, and my leading coefficient is positive. Very good. Oh, sorry here. Okay, you good? Just put it right here. We're good.
Go with a couple trips.
Yeah, you could. Do you need a pass right now? You know, okay, gotcha. All right. Is that an A, Jackson? Sure, you can say it with confidence. Is it an A, son? All right, so I'm going to put a 0 at negative 2 and 4. Christmas color. Okay, leading coefficient positive is going to be increasing, so I go through this, and then I bump the graph here, and there's my graph. What type of equation is number 7? Exponential. What's your first line of defense on exponential? You try to get the basis of the what? The same. Very good. So I'm going to rewrite this. How can I write 8 as a base of 2? 2 to the what? Negative 3, because it's a fraction. You got one just like this. So now the base is the same. I'll have 9 minus 3x equals negative 3. Negative 3x equals negative 12. X equals 4. Good morning. Number 8, what type of equation is this? Logarithmic. How many logs do you want in a problem? 1. How many do we have? So we'll have to use our properties to condense it. So it's going to be log base 2. What rule do I see here? Product or quotient? Quotient. 3x minus 2 over x minus 5 equals 4. Now, it is in logarithm. I'm going to put it in what form? Exponential. 2 to the 4th equals 3x minus 2 over x minus 5. 2 to the 4th is 16. You got one very, very similar to this problem. I'm going to cross what? So that's going to be 16x. 16 times negative 5 is negative 80. $13x minus 80 equals negative 2. 13x equals 78. X equals 6. Number 9, you need to put a star beside that one. That's like one of your short answers right there. Tomorrow you would do your 4 short answers first, turn it in, and then I will give you a multiple choice test, okay? And if you want to come in early and start the exam, you can start in a 0 period. I'm good with that. Okay. But you should be able to finish it now. What we have, an hour and 45 minutes? Yes. You should be fine with that. But if you think you don't found to be fine, you can start early, yes.
Is it in the grade book as the exam, or is it put in as a test?
It's in your grade book right now. I'm going to finish grading your test today, so your 9 weeks will be done, and then the last thing it says Math 112 final exam. That's that column in the grade book. All right, find these. I think we ended up with 42 grades this 9 weeks. Find the inverse and state the domain. All right, what's the first thing you're going to do? Swap your what? X in. So x equals y cubed plus 6. Now I'm going to move that 6 over. X minus 6 equals y cubed. How do I get rid of that cube? Take the what? Take the cube root. So your inverse of this would be the cube root of x minus 6 equals y. You can write it with using the inverse notation. Now looking at this is a cube root. What's your domain of a cube root? All real numbers, because you don't have to worry about anything under a cube root. So that's one of your short answers tomorrow. These are the ones I have to report back to Jeff State.
How do you do it if it's a square root?
Oh, if it was like, you want to find the domain? Let's think about this. In a square root, what cannot occur under a square root? A negative. So it has to be greater than 0. Can it be equal to 0? So remember, that's setting whatever is under the radical greater than or equal to 0. So it'd be. So your domain will be bracket 6 to infinity.
And that works with other even.
Yeah, like square roots, 4th roots, 6 roots, 8 roots. That's what you would do. Does everybody understand? Okay. Put a star by this one. This is another one like your short answer. Alright, we need to isolate the log. I'm going to move what over first? 6. That gives me 2. Now it's in logarithm. I'm going to put it in what form? Exponential. What's my understood base right here? 10 squared equals 2x plus 4. That's 100. Equals 2x plus 4. 96 equals 2x. That gives me 48 equals x. Now these next two are the last two problems on your study guide. I just wrote it on here. It's number 19 and 20. So these are the answers, 1920. It's on your other study guide. That was the last two problems that we have not done. All right. Put a star by number 19. You got one just like this on your short answer tomorrow. That you got to list the possible zeros and the real zeros, okay? Number 19 says find all real zeros. P of x equals 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 9x minus 10. All right. Possible zeros. Do you remember how to find the possible zeros? Factors of this one divided by the factors of the first one. So I'm going to put factors of 10 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 10 plus or minus 2 plus or minus 5 divided by the factors of the first 2 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 2. Now you said, Mr. Does it matter if I put 10 or negative 10 here? No, because aren't you taking into account the positives and negatives of all these numbers? So that's why I don't really stress about that. Now, so on your test tomorrow, your short answer. This is your third short answer tomorrow. You need to make me a list, possible. I'm going to put possible here so Mr. Esther will know what are you talking about, possible zeros. So here we go. Take all these, divide by 1. Take all these, divide by 2. 1 divided by 1 is? 10 divided by 1 is? 2 divided by 1 is? 5 divided by 1 is? 1 divided by 2 is? 1/2. 10 divided by 2 is? I already got that, don't I? I don't need to write it again. 2 divided by 2 is? I already got that, don't need to write it again. 5 divided by 2 is? There you go, there's my list of possible.
So how would you know when to write that? They tell you that.
It's going to say list the possible and the actual zeros. It's going to have two blanks. It's got a line for possible and then your actual zeros. Okay, now let's talk about review how to find the real zeros. If you can factor that, that's the best thing, isn't it? If I group this off, because it's 4 terms, and did it by grouping, would I get the same thing in each parentheses? No, you remember these were at the end of that unit when, what if they cannot be factored? Okay, what do? First of all, you graph in a graphic calculator, don't you? So let's input it. Yes, you like my new stool? It matches. Watch this. It's like a ride. You never know what you might get on it. Yes, it's my new stool. I snuck it in. It matches, so they can't say anything. It's all red. Alright. That was my Christmas gift to myself. 2. So y equals 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 9x minus 10. Now, remember our process. This is cubic. If it was quintic, quartic, cubic, what's your goal is to break it down to what type of function? Quadratic. Because once it got to quadratic, you could either A, factor it, or B, do the what formula? So how many zeros are you going to have to pick off this graph to break this down? 1, okay? Let's pick, which one's clear? 2. I'm going to say 2. Is everybody good with 2? How can we check it? Go second table. Oh, -1. You could use -1. Or 2. You see that? I'm going to do 2. So here's my zeros. I'm going to go and put 2 down because I found that to be a 0. Use synthetic division. Put 2 here. Write your numbers out. 2, 3, -9, -10. Should it come out to 0? Yes. Now this was cubic. I'm going to write this as quadratic. 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. I'm going to use bust them up. It's going to multiply to give you 10, add to give you 7. That's 2 and 5. If you do slide and divide, just do it your way. Set both those equal to 0. I get negative 5 halves. And x equals negative 1. So those are my zeros. We're going to do some more of these. These are the ones we're focusing on today. Alright, number 20. We're going to find all zeros. This is complex zeros. I'm just meaning find all zeros. Your real, your complex, everything. Yes. Negative 5 halves, negative 1. Right here. Now, I'm not going to list the possible zeros on next. Well, yeah, I will, just for us to practice. Alright. Well, no, because...
We only have to list possible if it literally tells us to.
Yes. And it's going to say the word possible. Alright, on number 20. It's a quartet. So how many zeros I'm going to have to pick off that graph? 2. So let's graph it. What 2 zeros do you clearly see? Negative 1 and 1. So we're going to go and put those down. Let's pick negative 1 first and break it down. What if one of these powers were not visible? Let's say x squared was left out. What number would you have to put in place of it? 0. Very good. So I went from a quartic to a cubic. Now I'm going from a cubic to a what? Cubic to what? Quadratic. Pick my other 0, 1. And I'm left with x squared minus 8x plus 17. Can I factor that? No, I have to use the what formula? Quadratic, okay? Opposite of b is 8 plus or minus b squared. So that's b negative 8 squared minus 4 times ac. All over 2 times 1. That gives me 8 plus or minus 64. Minus 68 over 2. That gives me 8 plus or minus negative 4 over 2. Oh, you see a negative under the radical. That's the discriminant. Is this going to be real or imaginary solutions? Complex, I mean. Complex, because that's going to be 8 plus, what's the square root of negative 4? 2i. Did I tell you where this, guess where this is going next year in the math course study? What grade? 8th grade. They got to be able to tell me this is this next year in 8th grade. They're moving that to 8th grade. In Algebra 2, yes. They're moving that to 8th grade now. They just want them to be able to do that. They're not like doing like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. They just want to be able to say, okay, you know square root of 4 is 2. What if I gave you square root of negative 4? That's 2i. That's what they want. 8th grade want it 12. That's going to be a long journey, but that's where it's going. Alright, so 4 plus or minus I. So your zeros are negative 1, 1. You have, and 4 plus or minus I. How many zeros could I have up to in this function? 4. How many do I have? 4. How many's real? How many's complex? Very good. We're going to come back to these two on the bottom at the end of class for practice. I just want us to keep going right now. Try the transformation on the next page. That's your fourth and final question that's on your short answer part. So you have the logarithm equation, you have the inverse, you have a zero problem, and you have this. These are your 4 short answer, okay? So do the transformation, and then we'll go over it. It's this one right here. They give you a function. They want you to apply the rules. I told her that we like sweet tarts, so she went and bought 3 bags of sweet tarts. I didn't know you could do that. She ordered that from her. What now, buddy? Yeah, we're going back to table seconds. This is only where you take your final exam with Rose. Yes, hon. Okay.
How many questions?
46 multiple choice and 4 non. Alright. Work from inside out. What's this plus 1 till you do? Left 1, we're going to reflect over the what? X-axis. So if it's on the X-axis, does it move? Then up how many? 1, 2, 3. Okay? Here, move left 1. It's 1 away, so it'll be 1 here. Do you see that? Move it up how many? 1, 2, 3. Alright, here. Move left 1. It's 2 away down here, so it'll be 2 away down here, and then move up how many? 1, 2, 3. Move left 1. It's 1 away, so it'll be 1 away down here. Move up 3. 1, 2, 3. Move left 1. It's 2 away here. It'll be 2 away down here. Move up 3. 1, 2, 3. Are we good on that? Yes.
On those, so like if there was a number of in front of the X, that would mess with the Y, and if it's outside the parentheses, it messes with the X.
Yes, if it's outside, it messes with Y. If it's inside next to it, messes with the X. When it's close to the X. Alright, factorial expressions. Let's make sure we remember this. X plus 4 factorial over X plus 2 factorial. So I'll start X plus 4 factorial times, what comes after this? Take 1 off of it, what is it? X plus 3 times, would I stop there? Yes, because what happens here? So your answer, you could just leave it as X plus 4 times X plus 3. Know this formula. I'm not giving you this formula tomorrow. This is the only one that you're going to know. That is for when it says, like, find the 50th term of the arithmetic sequence. I would put A sub 50 equals whatever the first term is, 50 minus 1. And what does D stand for? Common what? difference. Does everybody understand? You have one question like that. Make sure you find your Pascal's triangle. You got to be able to expand a binomial. You can use your triangle tomorrow, okay? And I'm talking about stuff like this: 2x minus 3y to the 4th. Be able to use your triangle to expand that. Look back at your notes. All right. Let's spend last class doing these two. Find the zeros of those two polynomials. Yes. Index card notice this is just one formula, but you can use your triangle. I'll let you use your triangle. That wouldn't be good, buddy, because I would automatically fail you if you don't take a final here. In college, you do that. Guys, let's talk about this. If your calculator is doing something weird on graphing, remember, always check the mode here. Your mode of your calculator graphs 4 types of equation. They graph function, parametric, polar, and sequence. Function is when it appears to be y. That's what you want most of the time. Parametric, you're going to learn that later. Polar, you're going to learn that later. Sequence, we put that in at one time to show that sequences are linear sometimes, okay? But always check that button. Alright, so on this one right here, I'm going to input the problem. (6x cubed plus 25x squared minus 24x plus 5). It looks like it's going across at -5. It does, so I'm going to use that as one of my zeros. And I'll break that cubic down to a quadratic. And now we're at a quadratic. I'm going to try to factor it. It can be factored. Minus 2x and minus 3x. Set both of those equal to 0. You get x equals 1/3. Did I mess up, buddy?
It'd be -6 and +4. Because it was -2 and -3.
It's got to multiply to give you +6. So -2 times -3 multiplies to give you 6. Add to give you -5. Yeah, that's a +6. Do y'all agree with me? Or did I okay, that's what I thought. So you get 1/3 and 1/2. So in this particular case, I have all 3 real solutions, don't I? Alright. Let's grab the next one. How many zeros can I have up to? 4. Alright, I find, I think 2 looks like 1. -1 and 2. So I'm going to go with -1. My table says -1 is 1. 3, -11, -1, 19 is 6. So it went from a quartic to a cubic. Now, Going from cubic to quadratic. 2 is another 0. I'm left with 3x squared minus 8x minus 3. That can be factored. Got to multiply to give you negative 9, add to give you negative 8. That's negative 9 and 1. Take a 3x out, x minus 3, take a 1 out. So I get 3x plus 1 and x minus 3. Set them both equal to 0, I get negative 1/3 and 3. So in this case, I do have 4 solutions, and they all happen to be real. None of them are complex. And that concludes our review for final exam. Do you feel like we reviewed enough?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, buddy.
Would you be able to solve it if it didn't give you 2 zeros in your table?
I wouldn't give you something like that. You will be able to break it down. Alright, does everybody understand what's on it? So you can use this and the study guide and use your notes. Because part of the study guide, I didn't give you any examples in the practice.